Street of black light. Street of black light. Street of black light. Down, Papa, don't you blow.
Hello, how are you? Have you had a good week? Are your knees hurting? Your elbows hurting? Is anything hurting? Well, it probably is, yes. Okay, so we're getting to what I call the livery. The livery is the paint job, or, you know, putting extra colours on, Normandy stripes or landing D-Day stripes. Get it right. Putting the stripes on. Now on the P51, on the Fuzz, there was Normandy stripes here. It normally only went about halfway up. The earlier versions of the P51, which I believe went up to the C, which had the ridge back, some of them went all the way over. So you got the choice of either going all the way around or part the way up. I'm going to go part the way up because that's how they had it in the majority of the cases. And also, I think it kind of looks good. I like it. I don't know what it is about it. I just like the fact that it only goes halfway up. It's anti-disestablishment, perhaps, which I believe is the longest word in English. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Yes, anti-disestablishment, anti-disestablishmentarianism. Longest word in English. I believe the longest word in Welsh is Inglan Gochlan Ogogogoch, which means the red dragon that lives in the cave at the top of the hill, or some such thing. Anyway, I don't know which has longer letters in it. Don't know. Look it up. Put it in the comments section. Anyway, there you go. Also, I was going to do a blue sort of ring round the front nose. Now, I was talking to some of the chaps down at the flying club, and I did have a look on YouTube at 1 or 2 things, and my mentor, Mr. Kevin McNaughton, said to me, you know, Nick, you're going to cause yourself a lot of work using this vinyl to get things round it. He said, why don't you just paint it? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, what you can do, you can get a washing up scrubber, just score the paint, just paint it, paint the front. It save a lot of time and work. So I'm going to try it as an experiment. If it doesn't work, I suppose I can go back to the vinyl. But to do this, I've had an idea that may or may not work, and for that we need to go to the kitchen, and the wife's not in. See you in a moment. Right, so here we are in the kitchen, and I've decided to make a mask. So all I did, I just got some A4 printing paper, and I got some examples off the internet. What do these noses look like? So I've grabbed examples like that, models, kits, 1/72 scale, you likes of Airfix or Tamiya or whatever, and it just gives you a good idea. Even an RC version, you know, a foamy RC version, gives you an idea of how that paint scheme should be. So I've got the A4 paper. I drew on roughly how it should be, and then I got it how I sort of wanted it, and then I wet it, just get a little bit wet so it takes a shape. So the first trial, because I've never done this before ever, so the first trial fit is to now get it to fit, and then take it off, cut it down the middle here, use that as a template, and then do an opposite. So then I can put the opposite on, and that will mask it up. And to me, that was probably the simplest way I could think of doing it on an RC model anyway. And then prep it and spray it and see how it turns out. If it turns out absolutely pants, I'm going to be distraught. So I will have to rub it down and probably use a film or a vinyl. I was going to use a film or a vinyl, but I was advised by my good friend to try this. He reckoned it'll work, so fingers crossed. Here we go. Well, I've masked it all off and I've decided to score the film using, now I happen to have some 1500 grit, which is really fine, and I'm just going over the top surface here. You can see the difference there. I've scored it, and it's just to give the key to the primer. I'm going to put a primer on, that gives a bit of a key, and then I'll put the top coat on. So that's where we are. Don't forget to put some paper in the front there, you don't get paint in your motor. And that's all I'm doing, I'm just using this and just rubbing it lightly so that primer can get a grip on this film, because this film is very smooth and it needs to grip to something, and the top coat needs to grip to the primer. So the only trouble is, so when you're using paints, they do show up any imperfections. So I suppose this is the opportunity to rub out any joins. So maybe there's a good thing to it. No? So as soon as I've got this done, I will come straight back to you. Well, here we are. I've got the old newspaper out. Got surface primer from Tamiya. I've put it in the washing up bowl, put some boiling water into it, let it warm up, give it a good shake. Here we go. Little short bursts, don't go trying to cover it all in one go, little short bursts. I'm going to let that dry, put another coat on, then it's time for the top coat. Yeah! Okay, that primer's gone off now, touch dry. So we're going to put the blue paint on. This is Tamiya TS51 Racing Blue. I'm hoping it's not going to be too dark. Let's have a look. So I'll just do a quick tester. Okay. Now I've heated it up and shook it. Let's see what happens. A bit too much there. Let's see. Oh crikey, put my fingers on it. Ah, that's good. It's on the, I haven't put it on the part I wanted, I'll put my fingers on the tape. Okay. So, I am conscious that I also have the nose cone, and I think I might have to do the nose cone. Whoops, have to do the nose cone as well to make it match. What I might do, I might put that in the drill, spin it, and do it that way. I think best thing to do, let the go off, but when it's still slightly tacky, not quite dry but not quite dry, give it another coat because it'll stick to itself, and hopefully it'll come out right. It looks all right. You can never tell till you've finished it, and then I've got to take the masking tape off, and hopefully it won't pull off any paint. Anyway, let's let that dry and I'll come straight back to you. Right, time for the second coat. So let's see what happens. It looks a bit matte to me, but it's supposed to be a gloss. I don't know. Let's wait till it dries. Right, when it comes to the nose cone, I put a nut and bolt inside here, put it in the chuck of my drill. I'm going to give it a sanding. Let's hope I don't take my hand off. Okay, put it there. Okay, and a bit there. All right, okay. A bit more. Okay, now I've got some finer stuff. There we go. So we get on with that. Blimey, that's good. I like the look of that. Grab some of our alcohol, which I don't think I mentioned earlier. I use some alcohol to clean off whatever residue is left. Okay. Get rid of all of that. Get inside the screw well. Okay. Lovely. Let's go and grab the primer, which I'll put over here. See how that turns out. Not bad. There you go. So, wait for the nose cone to dry, and shortly the fuzz will be ready. I'll put one last coat on there, by which time this should be ready. I'll put some paint on that, see how we get on. It might turn out alright, I don't know, I have absolutely no idea. Okay, wish me luck. Okay, time for the top and final coat. Let's see what happens.
So here we go. Put that to one side.
This is going to be interesting. Not bad. Look at that. That's all right. I'm going to put that to one side. I'm not even going to touch the drill or anything. See what it looks like when it's all dry. I left it about an hour. The paint needs to fully cure. Acrylics, by their nature, will cure from the outside going in rather than the inside going out. So although it will be touch dry on the top surface, it won't be fully cured for about 24 hours. But it's enough for me to demask it. So this is how it's turned out. Better than I thought, to be honest. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but it is better than I thought. I probably would have pursued a vinyl to get that certain look, but you have to remember something with this. This is a fun fighter, and it will by its nature be belly landing. There's no undercarriage, and so the air intake at the back is going to get a hammering, and after a few landings it's going to start looking a bit soggy. But you know, when it's new, the idea is to look okay, you know, all right. So as fun fighters go, and I've seen a few fun fighters on the internet, and some look quite good, and I want this one to be at that level. It seems that the paint does go on. I've put a lacquer onto the nose. If you just wait a second, I'll go and get it. Just a second. So that's with the lacquer on it. Now, by that nature, it probably looks a little shinier, but I don't know that it is. It looks dark on the video. It looks almost black, but it's not. It's actually, it's a, I wouldn't say a deep blue, but or a dark blue specifically, but it's probably a little bit darker than I would have wanted. But you know, it's all right. It's okay. In fact, it can probably come off the. There you go. So it's going to look like that, basically. So the nose will match the rest of it, and I think that's okay. I can live with that. So I think the next stage is to, let me just turn that a bit. The next stage is to put the invasion stripes on, and hopefully it'll look okay. So let's see what happens. Invasion stripes. Okay, one of the things you need to do is gain a reference. Just go onto Google, type in P51 invasion stripes. You get one or two examples, but where we are looking at now is the rear of the fuselage behind the wing. And so what I did was, as I already have some decals, I scaled it up and measured it out, so your decal will go somewhere like that. So you need to allow for the stripes to be either side of that. So I've measured it out now. For your reference, if you're copying this, from here to here is 20 centimeters. For our American friends, that's just below 8 inches, so 7 and what was it? 7 and 7/8. Okay, and then you divide your tape into 4 centimeters. Now 4 centimeters for our American friends is 1.5 inches. So 40 centimeters, sorry, 40 millimeters, 4 centimeters wide. I haven't worked out how long they're going to be, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. You go just on the very edge of the ply doubler there, which I think is number 4. So you're coming back, I think about 3 mil, 4 mil. Now to get this up into a vertical, what I did, now where have I put it? I got myself an angle, I got myself a level, put the level there, secured that height with a lid or something that's going to hold it there, hold up the square, lightly mark it with a pencil. You only need to go as high as where this turtle deck meets the ply here, yeah, and then once you've got your vertical there and your vertical there, you run the piece of tape where the turtle deck meets the ply, and that gives you that shape. You have to copy that the other side and then make them up really as best you can at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do now is rub this down with my 1500 grade grit to get a key for the primer. Spray that white, let it dry, let it cure, and then I will put in these stripes here and here, no sorry, here, here and here to cover up the white, which will then give you a black and a black, and then put the black on. So I'll have to partly do all this all over again to do the black, and then I'll just copy the same process for the wing. So let's go and put some paint on. Right, I've used the glass paper to give a key to the primer. Heated up the primer. I've given a little bit of a shake. Actually, what have I done with it? Put it down somewhere. I'll find it. Oh, here it is. There you go. Give it a really good shake. I got this warm by putting it into a bowl with some hot water, and so it's important to make sure it's got as much fluidity as possible. Now I've got my alcohol here, and I have my paper towel, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of alcohol on. Don't need much. 2 reasons for doing this: take off anything that's left off on the surface that you rubbed. The second reason is any oils used in the manufacture of the film need to come off. So that will get rid of all the oils and all the crap. It's as quick as that. Okay. Now, priming. Here we go. Covered. Let that go off. Give it about an hour. Make make sure that doesn't fall over. Put the top back on. See you in a minute. Time for the gloss white. Here it goes. Coat 1. Okay, here we go. This is second coat. Here we are. Turn it round. Actual fact, I think the second coat might be enough. So let's let that dry. And what I may do is put a lacquer on this. The main reason being that you'll be using tapes, and in my experience, Tamiya don't react well to tapes when you're stripping them off. They tend to pull the paint off. So what I'll do is probably put a lacquer on that, and then use a tape, and then apply the black. Let's see how we get on with that. Okay. Okay, the second coat's gone off. Actually, I think the second coat's good enough. So I'm going to be using some TS13 from Tamiya. It's a clear lacquer. The reason is, as previously mentioned, I need to put tape on there, and I'm thinking if I put a lacquer on it, it won't lift up the bottom paint. Then we're about to find out. So here we are, clear lacquer. I think it'll only take one coat to do that, if I'm being honest. Just do with the can. Here it is. Okay, that's the right one. You've got to check it because you might be, what's it, orange on or something. I've been known to do it. Okay, so we check it. TS13 clear. All right, and there we go. Okay, so we're going to let that secure, and while that's doing that, we can be looking at the wings. So just 1 second there. Oh, got a bit of a wobble going on there. Okay, wings. So measuring from the center line out, you need 71 millimeters, so that's 7.1 centimeters to get your first line. So you get your line, then go your 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters if you like this way, 200 millimeters that way, and you'll get the straight line. It's not particularly difficult to do. And then I've rubbed it with a 1500 grade grit. I then used the alcohol, which is out of my reach, cleaned off all the grease and everything. So now we're ready for the surface primer. Make sure you give it a good shaking. So we get a bit more towards me. Okay, here we go. Okay, there's one half. Okay, now I'm going to let that go off before I turn it over and do the other side. And again, I'm going to put a gloss white on that, lacquer it, and then I can test the water with putting some tape on it, putting the black on top, and then once that's done, I'll lacquer that and take all the paper off. Then it'd be fingers crossed. You never know with these things. The only thing I will say, I mean, I like Tamiya paints. I do use them a lot. But what I would say is it does peel off if you put masking tape on it. So there you go. So let's come back once that's gone off, and I'll do the other side. Right, I did the other side very quickly while you were away. Blame me if you want to. I just wanted to crack on. So both sides have now been primed. Got the gloss white. Turn the wing around. Oh, there we go. Okay. Bottom coat. This is definitely going to need another coat, so let that go off. Now what I may do is leave that overnight, and before I go to work, just put the coat on and then bugger off home, off to work, come back, that'll be all nice and cured, and hopefully it won't need another coat, and I can put the clear coat on, the lacquer coat, and then this is where it gets like this, about putting on the black stripes. As I keep saying, I just hope the paint doesn't lift off with the tape. But it is Tamiya tape and it is Tamiya paint. So Tamiya, if you're watching, it's your fault. Anyway, let's see what happens next. Right, stripes on the wings. Same process as before. I've already done the fuzz, which is just over there, and 4 centimetre gaps, masked it up, spray on top of the white, which appears so far to be okay, giving it a light sanding, very light sanding with the 1500 grit, wipe the alcohol over it so there's no oils on it. So all I've got to do now is just spray on the black. The only difference with the wing is I can only do one surface at a time because of the curvature of the wing and everything else, the way the tape lies. So I'm going to have to do this side, finish it off completely with a couple of coats of black, seal it with the lacquer, and then do the other side. This process of masking up took me about, I don't know, about an hour, something like that. I'm trying to do it quite carefully. So let's see how it turns out. So I'll just go and grab the black. Heated it up, give it a good shake. Here we go. Bottom coat of black. Right, well, I have sprayed the black on the bottom of the wing. I've taken some of the covering paper off because just to make things quicker. Now the thing is, I need to leave the centre paper on and the wingtip paper on because I want to put another coat of lacquer on it, and I don't want that getting on the shiny bit. Now here's the thing, I'm getting to the point where I need to take this tape off to define the edges. Now I have had tape which I forgot to double stick to the table to take some of the glue off, and it's taken some of the white paint off, and I've gone over it and it still hasn't quite hidden it, but I'm prepared to put up with it because otherwise I've got to remask it all up, I've got to rub it down, do it all again, and I'm running out of paint. So I thought I can live with it, it's on the underside. Now, which brings me to the next tip of double sticking the tape to the table. So any clean surface when you're taping up, get your tape out, rub it on the flat surface, and then pull it off and then rub it on again, take it off, and then apply the tape, and it's more likely to come off without taking the paint off. And I found this with Tamiya tapes, that if you put the tape on and you haven't double deglued it, it'll usually rip the paint off, which is, you know, I did this on the other side, that's come out okay, no problem. But just in case, what you can do, get your heat gun from a distance and heat up the glue on the tape, okay, only a little bit, and that'll just de-tack the glue. Now you can pick at it with your fingernail and it should come off without taking any paint off. And this is just taking a sip. Normally I'd use a pair of tweezers to grab the end of this, but they're up in the kitchen and I can't be bothered to go up there. So now I've got the little tab there. You may not be able to see that, I don't know. We only want a little bit of heat, because don't forget you've got a film underneath this, which will pick up the heat of the gun and do something strange. So just do that. Just heat up the glue. Okay. And hopefully, fingers crossed, nice and slowly. Okay. Well, see, just there. It's taking a bit of white paint off. A little bit more. Taking a bit more paint off. So I guess I'm going to have to get some more white paint. I have some overspray here. How that's got there, I'm really not sure. It's just a lack of preparation on my part. So it looks as though I'm going to have to, against my needs and wants, re-tape that up and put some white paint on it. But anyway, I'll take the rest off and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, I think we're coming rapidly to the end of this episode. I've basically taken everything off the wing now and it's all ready. The lines have been lacquered. That's the finished result. I haven't put the decal on yet. I'm in no rush particularly to do it because I still have to glue in the ailerons. The only reason they're on now is because I was trying to put the stripes on. So that's how it's all looking. There was a little bit of overspray here and there, and I used alcohol to wipe it off, which worked okay. The only issue was it took off some of the chrome, which really surprised me. I didn't think that was going to happen. I think all in all, if I was going to do this again, I think I would probably have rejected my friend's advice about painting it, because on the face of it, it seemed like a quick and easy win. And there's nothing wrong with doing it, but it seems like a lot more work than if I'd used the vinyl. Now here's the thing, yesterday turned up in the post the films. I ordered these about a month ago. I think if I'd had these at the beginning, I probably would have just used them. But hey, you live and you learn. But the wings turned out okay. It's all right. There's nothing, you know, major that would make me stop or strip it all, scrap it all, and start again. So in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm going to carry on with the way it is, and I think the overall model will look okay. So the next part is to adjust the ailerons and so forth, and get the rudder on, and etc, which will be in the next part. So thank you for your indulgence, thank you for watching, and thank you very much for your patience. Cheerio to the next one.
Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top.